Schulze to Schifrin, or actually Schulze to Miss Clark. Just a reminder, you should be at Dartmouth to cover that door. I'm going to turn off Milwaukee since our meeting is starting. And we'll figure it out. Okay, great. Whose is this? Otherwise, we can have you.
I don't know.
Okay, is that the same one?
No, I don't think
Okay,
that's
cool.
her.
Then I'm going to ask if you don't give a lesson.
I just tried to print
Okay.
it.
Why don't you look off of Karen's then? Okay. Good morning, guys. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. I actually want to jump in with just a quick question so we can decide the best way to move forward. Meg was just talking to me a little bit about phonics and making sure that phonics is clear, happening consistently as well. And it sounds like there were some like structural things that are getting in the way in terms of materials, as well as just confusion around like what's the best way to internalize. My proposal is to use next week's IPP meeting to dive into phonics and to talk about like what doesn't make sense, what does, what are we missing in order to get it up and running. But I want to quickly get a pulse check if we think that would be a good use of time and help clarify. So can I say like a yes or a no? The no would be like no, I want to keep working on, it's more important to me that we keep working on math rather than clarify phonics. So yes means yes, let's use it, no means no. Yes? Yes? Okay, great. Sorry to get that one. So I will. Yeah, it's okay. So I will make that adjustment, and ahead of that time, I want to save our time today. But ahead of that time, I'll probably just shoot you an email asking like, what are the issues that you're seeing with phonics, so that I can understand exactly how can I spend that time, how do we plan that time, what are the things that are missing, or what do we need to correct. Cool. All right, thanks guys, I appreciate it. So today we're going to jump into lesson 16. However, I know there's been some confusion in the scope and sequence, so let's start there. So it sounds like we were just referencing two different folders, as well as the scope and sequence, some of the numbers in the lessons not matching. So before we move any further, the lesson we're going to jump into is the one about the first game where they're subtracting on a number. Is that the one that everyone's looking at? Okay, great. In the scope and sequence, that should be today's lesson. So if you have all, like, essentially this should be the lesson after kids have played the game where they drop the counters.
Wait, this is tomorrow.
Yeah, this is tomorrow's lesson.
What's today's lesson guys? Oh, the day 2 of
The game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. This should be the one after that lesson.
Yes.
Okay, then we should all be back on track from there. So my goal is that today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, everyone is teaching this lesson, regardless of where you were in the scope and sequence, so we can get back on
So
track.
I prepared this for today, that's fine.
That's fine, yeah, and then you're just ahead of the game. Okay, great. So,
Well, 3 starts next week.
I know, it's like.
Get us back on.
yes, and I think, Ashley, we're all good with deleting all of the error or the.
Yeah,
I just like deleted the folder that had all of the other.
Okay. I don't know if I should answer. The reason I said no with the phonics is because unit 3, well, we are going to internalize that too. It's just like I was looking at the timing is so different than this one, and that's why I was like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, totally hear you. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this lesson. So, as we are, let's actually start by thinking about how does this lesson relate to the last few lessons? Or how does this, what's the connection between this lesson and the last few lessons that scholars have been doing? Karen?
They've been exposed to the number line, but they haven't done subtraction.
Yes, we've done addition on the number line, we haven't done subtraction. What strategies have they used for subtraction so far, Katrina?
Expanded notation and subsets.
Great. If we take a look at the standard, let's remember that this is the biggest standard, this is our big standard for grade 2, unit 2 from our unpacking, which is all about fluently adding and subtracting within 100. Does anyone remember which building block we are in this part of the
Is it something around like really conceptually understanding the fluency between the parts of the wholes and how you use it to do it?
Yes, so remember that building block 2 and building block 3 are very similar, except building block 2 is all about using strategies that make sense and are efficient for addition. Building block 3 is all about using strategies in addition, strategies that are efficient for subtraction. So we've talked about addition and some of the strategies we use. We're now shifting over to subtraction to do it. Again, by the end of the unit, our goal is that we're doing all of these things fluently and in the strategies that make sense. Okay. So now let's take a look at our big idea for the lesson. So I'm gonna actually just have each person share out what their big idea for this lesson is. Let's talk about the areas where it's the same, talk about where there's any areas that we might need to adjust. Katrina, why don't you start us off?
So the big idea I said was that they can use the number line to either start at the whole and go back, or start at a part and go up.
Okay.
Yeah, using multiple ways to subtract from the number line.
Okay.
The only thing I added was that we can find the missing part in an equation by using the number line to jump up or just down by the difference between the part we know and the whole.
Great, so I heard a lot of different things, which I think let's tie them all together. So I heard that we're using strategies that make no sense to us, which is absolutely correct. I heard we have 3 different strategies on number lines that scholars can use. And then I think to Marina's point, thinking specifically about the focus of this lesson. In this lesson, in all of the work that scholars have, they're missing a part, and yeah, they're missing a part, right? So there's no work today where they're missing the whole, they're only working on, I've given the whole and I'm missing a part to find the other. So important to know that those are 3 strategies that we're talking about for that specific instance. So let's talk a little bit about the strategies. I'm just gonna quickly roll call, what are the 3 strategies that scholars can use to find the missing part on the number line? Karen, what's one?
Whole and subtracting the part that you know to find this.
Got it, so start at the whole, subtract the part that you know. What's another one, May?
They can start at the part and make jumps to the whole and then count those jumps.
Start at the part, yeah, make jumps to the hole, and then count the jumps to find the missing part, and then Marina will be the last
You
one.
can start the whole and jump back the part you know to find the unknown part.
Not jump back the part you know, jump back.
Oh, sorry, I was like,
Yeah, you're right.
let's
It's-
share
these are
the
very
opposite
similar. That's why I wanna
one
get
of
that.
that. Jump back to the part
There
you
you
know
go.
to find the amount that you, that is the difference.
Good, and yes, so jump back the part, jump back to the part,
Yes.
so a lot of different things. Let's just take a minute to remember again, we've had this discussion in our unit on math. Let's just talk, why do those 3 different strategies work? Why do all 3 of those different strategies work? Right? Talk to you about it.
One part, yeah, but the other has.
Okay, let's go ahead and come back. I heard Meg, you share something, why don't you share on?
Just the relationships of a whole. So 2 parts make up a whole, so if you take only one part, you'll have the other, and vice versa.
Great, so we know that we know the relationships between part and whole, we know that those relationships between addition and subtraction that help us find the difference, or the relationship between part and whole. What else someone can remember on this group?
We pretty much said the same thing, and also that they can be like, I mean, I guess in other words, like manipulated, like using the same parts and the same whole, there's different ways that you can show that.
Using the same parts, yes. So let's
Different
talk.
ways to get there.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's-
different ways to get
Well,
there.
Let's talk about what does the difference represent on a number?
With the same.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
So point A to point B can be either if you are going from a part to the whole, it will be going up. If you're going from the whole either to the part you don't know or jumping the part you know, let's say, but you're going backwards from point A to point B to find that missing part. So the whole is like that tape diagram, the whole thing, and then we know a part of it, and so we're jumping the other part.
Yeah, and remember that another word that we've used we use when we talk about subtraction is the difference, right?
Yeah.
And on a number line, the difference between a number is the distance between 2 different numbers, right? So the difference between a whole and a part is the difference between those 2 numbers, which is also what you get if you subtract. In all 3 of these strategies, the 2 points that scholars are marking on the line is the whole and one of the parts. And in all 3 of these strategies, they're finding what is the distance between the whole and one of these parts. And that's what subtraction means, is, right? The distance between 2 numbers. Great. A lot of different strategies, a lot of like very close and confusing strategies. It's important that we understand this. Do you have a question?
Yes, so, and this, I'm maybe getting ahead of myself.
Yep.
I know that we talked a lot about, talking about the most efficient way.
Yep.
Would those 3 different strategies of starting at the whole and starting at the part, whatever, would one of those be considered most efficient?
Great question. So I don't think, for efficiency, I don't think one of them necessarily is more efficient than the other. the goal here is that they choose a strategy that works for them. I honestly, even in this lesson plan, they're listed in a specific order, which I don't know that one's necessarily more sophisticated than the other, but I think probably the first one's the most intuitive, like the one that just like matches the story the
Right.
most, and then the other ones are ones that more rely on the relationship between part and whole. But in all three of these, kind of the work is the same, so I don't know that one is more efficient
Right,
than the other.
okay.
The thing let's actually talk about this. When we think about using a number line strategy, where does the efficiency come in? What is the thing that we want kids to do efficiently when they're finding the difference on a number line?
Big jumps of 10.
Yeah, make jumps of 10 and jumps of 1, right? That's where the efficiency comes in, is when I'm using my understanding of the numbers to do that. Cool? Okay. So, because this is a pretty meaty lesson, what I would like to do today is spend the majority of our time practicing charting the 3 strategies and eliciting the key points, as well as like working together with scholars to demonstrate how to use these strategies, okay? If we take a look at, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual VA. One thing I don't know that we made explicitly clear in our second grade group is just what are the criteria for success for charting strategies on the VA. So let's just quickly hit those. So when we chart strategies on the VA, what are the things that we do?
We make sure that we kind of listen to scholar response, we
Yeah.
don't just give them the strategies.
Great, yep, so we hunt and then we write down what scholars tell us. What else about those strategies?
Would you like an example of it?
Yeah, why would we do, why should we, and it's not even on here, and that's why I'm glad we mentioned it, why would we want to draw a picture for each strategy?
Because a lot of kids can't read that.
Yeah,
Or
a
don't
lot-
understand that.
either can't read it, don't understand it, or they, like, the visual representation might be the best way for them to understand the strategies. Because what is the purpose of charting the strategies, Karen?
For them to refer back to and like see an example of the different kinds of strategies.
Exactly.
If it wasn't one that they thought of.
Yep, if they can't understand what's on your chart, you might as well not even make the chart, right? The chart is for them, it's to show them that we are getting strategies from you, and you have an anchor that you can use throughout the lesson. The other part that we didn't mention that is less applicable on this one is that we're always charting in CPA order, right? In this one, all of these strategies are a picture representation and some abstract representation, so the order is less important, but one thing we should always do is we should always just chart in the same order that's listed on the document. And that's just a way that we can all stay on it. Okay. What I'd like to do is I would like for us to take, let's just take 3 minutes. I want us to start at where it says step 3, solve with a number line. Let's take 3 minutes to read through the 3 different strategies that we're eliciting from scholars, to mark up anything that is important for us to remember, and then we're literally just gonna have 3 different folks jump up and practice eliciting those things from scholars. I see Meg, which I think is a really great idea. I see Meg drawing some pictures to represent those strategies. Let's all do that just by the side of the strategies, draw what that's gonna look like. So let me actually give us 3 or 4 minutes. If you would like, Maria, I can just give you that. I'll start with 3 minutes. And then you just rip it off. just start on the right side. So I would kind of change my mind on things. I think it might be most effective to kind of go strategy by strategy since there's a lot of meat here. So let me quickly do this. Let me give you a minute with your partner. Let's just start with the first strategy that's given. I want you to compare your picture to see what's the same and what's different. And then we're going to have a quick discussion about what does the picture need to look like, what are things that we need to be listening for, and then we'll jump up and we'll practice each section. So let's take 1 minute to spar with your partner.
I did two different ones in like one concern, just like holes in the
I should
elements.
also know how to shape myself in space.
Yeah. My
Like, I
partner
write
is much
very
better
small
than that.
compared to them.
Terrible at counting. Like even yesterday counting 5 things,
Say that again?
your things, so they have
So I did, like,
difficulty with
whole
78,
jumping around
68. So I have to stop in between, like, so I did 10,
So
yes,
I just
68,
made
maybe use that
the
one
undershirt.
stop.
I didn't actually make
Yes,
it.
because they are so bad at that.
Yeah,
And
this was the
I
exact part too.
Yep.
Right, this orientation screen is fine.
I did that, the other day, showing.
Well, because I would just make
Hey,
sure
you're
it's-
at 48.
No, I do.
Let's count back 10 more. Oh, that's 38. Let's count back 10 more. Oh, that's 28.
So
Oh,
that's
that's
the
16.
strategy for keeping track of the jumps that they're calling out.
I think that it's gonna be important to make sure there's no confusion between these two strategies, these first two, because I feel like.
Okay.
No,
Let's-
that's good.
Let's come back. So a few key things that I see in work that I wanna make sure we're all aligned on. The first is that we're always starting our smaller number on the left, our larger number on the right. So we're always thinking of our number line growing to the right, so the scholars, so we don't just be normed and aligned on that. The second is we should have 88 on the right side of our number line as our whole. And then I'm seeing in every single person's work, jumps back of 10 with labeled jumps, which is great. And then underneath each of the jumps, the kind of the number that represents the number line. So I see like 78, 68, 58, 48, etc. And then I see jumps of 1 once we get to the 10s. Great. Let's now talk about, remember, when we're doing this strategy, we want a scholar to explain, but in this specific lesson plan, understanding that this is the first time that they're doing subtraction on a number line, we're giving a kid a chance to explain, then we're saying, great, let's all try it. So that there's another opportunity for scholars to practice with you. So Narina, you were mentioning this. What part of the let's try it together and let's build this thing together do you think might be challenging for your scholars?
Jumping from 88 to 78,
Great.
understanding when the 10 space,
Yep.
gets smaller, it's the 10 space, they get smaller.
Yeah, so for that fluent understanding of how to subtract by tens at any number, and then Karen, I thought you had a really good idea just for some scaffolds that we can provide for scholars or resources.
I did this in a previous lesson and it kind of turned some light bulbs on in some heads, but they all have that hundreds chart and pointing to like 78. Let's count back by 1, 10. Oh, that's 68. And then recognizing the pattern, like 10 less, only my tens place is changing, and I noticed that pattern on the hundred chart.
Yes, the 100 charts are a great friend and a great tool to use that, and for scholars to understand that when I jump by tens, when I jump down by tens, or jump up by tens, I really just go up to the next row, and until they can start seeing the patterns among the numbers. The last thing I wanted to ask was, after a scholar shares out the strategy, in every single one of those, there's 3 questions that are asked. Can someone remind me what are the 3 questions that are asked every single time a scholar shares out?
Do you think, what
Yep.
does it work?
Yep. let's decide, do those seem like the right questions, or what, if any, I have some feelings about those questions, wanna see what your guys' thoughts are. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Liz?
Yeah, I don't know if the what do you
Yes.
think is necessarily one that's gonna like,
High leverage.
is gonna be a high leverage one. I mean, it'd be great.
What
I
do you
don't-
think? Yes.
I-
Yes, I'm thinking.
So I'm not loving that one. Like, the reason you chart it is because you know that it's a strategy that's meaningful. Like, I don't, if a kid disagrees, what are you gonna do with it? I don't really care about that one. I do think the second one is an important one, right? So let's all star that second one to make sure we understand that we've gotta ask that question of like, why does that strategy work? And remember, and what are we looking for that answer when we ask scholars to say, what does the strategy work? What are we asking them to, like, what are some words we're expecting to answer? That's exactly right. So each of these strategies, we're trying to talk about the relationship between part and whole. Yes, Ashley.
I have a question. I'm wondering if the first question is like, what do you think? Like, does the strategy work? But like a pull the room type of thing.
That's what I've been doing too.
Yeah. We do votes. And then,
Yeah.
And then having somebody explain it.
Yeah, I'm always tough on this one because I'm like, you just started it. If a kid says no, you're not going to be like, oh, let me just cross that out. Like, never mind. Sorry, thanks, Jeremiah. Like, I mean, I think it's great. I think it could be a good one for.
Why don't you come up here, Jeremiah? You can be the teacher.
I saw,
why
like-
Jeremiah would say no on purpose, because.
I saw Meg lead this great discourse yesterday, and there was a little girl in the front who still was like, I disagree. And my kid was like, oh, okay. Just like, okay, we had a really persuasive discussion, so you're just wrong. Like,
I was not having it.
she was still like, you still don't disagree, Mikey? Okay, let's have him explain. How about Mikey? What do you think? Okay, now you're wrong, Mikey.
It's like, well, everyone thinks you're wrong, you're wrong.
So that's it. So great. You can say like, what do we think? Thumbs up if you agree. Thumbs down if you disagree. At the end of the day, you're going to end up asking that follow-up question anyway, which is why would we say that this strategy works? The last one is, let's look at the answer for why will these jumps work. What are they trying to get at with that question?
Helping them look at the face values.
Yeah. So what's another question? I
Why
don't
did
know
you-
that.
Why did you make those jumps?
Yeah, also, like, what makes sense about the strategy?
Yeah.
I was supposed to say, like, why did you choose these values for your jumps?
Why did you start
The
here?
quantity of these
Yeah.
values of these jumps.
Why did you start there?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking of like, there's the question of like how did I know how many jumps to make? Like, to me, like that gets at the understanding of the place value, or why did they make jumps of tens and ones?
But isn't
Let's
that
get
more
to the
like
idea
the
of the
second
efficiency.
one? I
Or
thought
like,
the
what if
first
we would
was
say like, why did you make 4 jumps of 10? That would be then, and being able to answer that would be like, there's 4 10s, I'm making 4 jumps of 10.
I think the first question got more to the fact that we're starting at the 88 and going backwards. And I thought the second question was more about, oh yeah, we made jumps of 10 and then jumps of 1 because we have like 2-digit number that has taken ones.
Yeah, so the first one is about why does it work? And then the second one is about, exactly, the execution of it. Like,
Yeah.
why am I making a certain amount of jumps that I'm making? So let's align on what's the best question that we think we can get at the heart of, I'm not just making random jumps. I'm not just like putting jumps that I think I like. I'm putting jumps that match the number and that are efficient. What are the questions we're asking here?
You'd say, like, why were we able to take jumps of different values, and why did we choose those values?
Okay, I think that gets the efficiency part.
Why did we make jumps of 10?
So let's start with the first one. The first one is we want them to understand that their jumps match the value that they're subtracting, right? So what's the question I can get at that? Again, I mean, I guess it could be why would these jumps work?
So you're trying to get them to talk about that they're jumping back to the part they know.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them to say, I jump back 4 jumps of 10 and
Yeah.
5 jumps of 1 because the number is 45. That's what we're trying to get them to get to.
Okay, so first they need to know that starting at 88, go backwards, and then why did we go back? How did we see this?
I think something along the lines of like how do I know how many jumps to make?
Yeah.
Right? Like how do I know how many jumps to make, and for them to understand, okay, we're looking at 45. And then I think to Meg's point, I think a follow-up question of like, why did I make jumps of 10s and 1s? Or you can ask like a nonsense question. Why didn't I make jumps of 7s, right? Okay. Here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna try to take this one at a time because I think they're so meaty. May, I'm gonna have you go first. Congratulations. I'm gonna have you just start at whatever part of that anchor chart. We're gonna see if we can fit like all three strategies on there, but we can write big just since I know this is, we're still mapping it out.
Okay.
If you wanna carry up your script, you can, just so you can reference it.
Try with that.
And you'll get a 0 for my picture.
So, sorry, and then also to clarify, so what I want you to do is I want you to jump into the script where we just turned in talk, and now you're about to call on a scholar who said, start at the whole and jump back to the part, okay? And you're gonna
So
lead
they
us.
already said that?
Yeah, so you're about to call on someone, and one of us is about to say, I started at the whole and I jumped back to the part that I knew.
Okay, so scholars, how do we subtract 88 minus 45 using our number line? Tell me the first step, where could I start? Justin?
I put 88 on my number line, and then I jumped back 45 because that was one of my parts.
Good, so, I'm sorry, can you go back? Why did we start with 88, Justin?
We started with 88 because 88 was my whole.
Good, 88 is my whole, and then you said you were jumping back 45. Why are you jumping back 45?
I jumped back 45 because it says I'm taking away 45, and 45 is one of my parts.
Good, it's one of my parts. All right, awesome. So, here is what, so, in order to do this, am I doing the jumps of time, or am I asking them questions?
Great question. This is why I think I want to jump in, because I
Yeah.
want to get clear. Because normally we would chart the strategy as scholars share. However, in this lesson, because it's the first time that they're doing this, we're trying to give them opportunities to do it with us.
Mhm.
So I think we have two options, right? We can either just have a kid describe, ask the questions, and then say, let's all try this strategy together, and then chart it. Or we could try to do like 2 different number lines using the strategy. What do you think makes most sense?
Well, one thing that I have thought about, I have a little number line on the bottom of my whiteboard, and to just be like, okay, what can I do back, and count back. 1, 2, 3, oh my gosh, 45 is a lot, I'm gonna be counting forever. What's
Sure.
a more efficient strategy I could use? And to see if some kid will say, okay, I count back by tens and then by ones.
I get-
Okay, do you want me to do that?
Well, no, I think maybe we're answering 2 different questions. I love that strategy. I think the thing I'm trying to think about is, right, like, if I'm talking and Meg charts it, right, if Meg charts it as I'm talking, that's gonna rob kids of the opportunity to say, scholars, let's use this strategy together. I'm starting at 88. How many jumps do I need to make? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, the purpose here is that a kid voices what the strategy is, and because kids have never done it before, I wanna use this as an opportunity to do some guided practice with that strategy. So I actually, like, in thinking about it, hearing it talk, what I would say is, I would do kind of exactly what you're doing. You would say, so you jump back 45. Guys, do we think that's gonna work? Okay, yeah, why would that work? And then, it would work because it's one part. Why would I jump back 40, or, no, I'm trying to.
What would I do next?
Yeah, maybe what would I do next, and then I would say, let's all do it together. So I'm starting at 88, what should I do? You should jump back at 10.
Okay,
Does
so
that make
I'm
sense?
starting at 88, I'm subtracting 45. How can I represent that subtraction problem using my number line, starting at my whole 88? I don't know.
Let's start with, I just described that, let's start with, I know I can start with 88 and then I can jump back 45 because 45 is one of my parts. And now why don't you ask, he said he's gonna start at this one and jump back his part. Do we think that's gonna work? And why would it work?
Okay, so Justin said he's gonna start at his whole, which is 88, jump back his part, which is 45. Do we think that's gonna work? Awesome. I see mostly agrees. Can you tell me why, Katrina?
That works because if you take away one part, you get the other part.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna be left with the part that we don't know. So then, I feel like we're missing like. So now, how do I transition to like me charting the 10?
Yeah, I know. So I almost wonder if that question that we added on, which was like the number of jumps, if that needs to go at the very end of the whole cycle. You know what I mean? Like I almost wonder if that needs to happen after the strategy gets demonstrated.
Or can I just ask like, how would I draw 45 jumps? Like turn on your
Or how would I represent going
efficiently-
back 45?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
How
the
could I
one.
represent going back on my number line 45 jumps? Discuss with your partner and see if you can come up with like the most efficient way.
And I don't even know if I would say jumps. I think I would just say, how can I represent going back 45 on my number line? Because you want them to pull out the idea of jumps.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
How do I want to represent going back 45 using my number line, turn to top? Karen, how do you think I would represent going back 45?
I'm gonna make 4 jumps of 10 and 5 jumps of 1.
Okay, so first you said 4 jumps of 10, okay. 10. Sorry.
And I would label those
Yeah,
minus 10, minus 10, minus 10.
Okay, so I have 4 jumps of 10. 4 jumps up, 10.
10.
Good, so I have 4 jumps of 10. Here,
And let's
can you
just do
pause
minus, let's just do
there?
minus really quick, so like minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, so we never go backwards on number.
Karen, can you pause there before we move on from our jumps of 10? Why did you choose to do 4 jumps? Or I guess I could open that to everyone. Everyone,
either
why
one,
did
yep.
she choose to do 4 jumps of 10? How did she figure out 4? Turn top. Marina.
Because there's 4 10s and 45.
Oh, there's 4 10s and 45. Okay, am I done yet? Yes or no?
No.
What do I need to do next, Katrina?
You need to jump back your 5 ones.
Ashley made a recommendation just ending with an arrow, so you know that you're actually jumping back. So at the end of your line, just put a little arrow, like a down arrow.
Oh.
There you go.
Awesome.
And then just
how
put
did
it
she
like
know to
that.
jump back 5 more only jumps of 1? Turn top, Marina.
5 1, 8 45.
Awesome. Okay, then I see we made our good jumps of 45, but I still don't have an answer. What could I do for my last step to figure out what my answer is? Turn top, Justin.
So when you were counting back, you need to know what your number was every time you counted back.
Okay, so what would I write right here?
78.
78. Okay, and then what would I write here, Karen?
68.
Okay, keep going, Katrina.
Good, and at this part, just because it's the first time they're jumping back by tens, I would just ask someone like, how do you know? Why it's 58? Why it's 78? And they would be able to say 88 minus 10 equals 78.
Okay, and how did she get 78, Marina?
88, 87, 80. She jumped back by 10.
She didn't mind that.
88 minus 10 is 78.
Okay, great. Okay, so here we had jumps of 10, but I'm still not at my answer. How do I get you label these jumps now? Marina.
Minus 1.
Mine's 1, so what will this one be?
47.
47? Okay.
46. 45. 44. 43.
Awesome. So which number represents my answer, Miller?
43.
43.
Here come another key.
Awesome. And there.
Yeah, so now, yeah, I'm wondering, yeah, what do you think is the way to cap this, guys? What do you, like, is it representing in a number sentence as well, like, just so that they can see all 3 of them got the same answer?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably, I might just write a number sentence under it to say, great, so, like, I might just stamp it
Okay,
and
so maybe
synthesize
I'd be
it.
like, so we know subtraction is whole minus part equals part. So we started at our whole, which was?
88.
88, yes, our whole was 88. And then remember, we jumped backwards, which means we were subtracting, means we were?
Subtracting.
And how many did we subtract, Justin?
45.
45? Good. And then we were left with our unknown part, which is what we landed at. Our part that we landed at was, Irina?
43.
43, good.
Then I would probably just mark the, yeah, there you go, mark the 43 as an underline.
So when they start at their part and jump up to their hole, should we write 45 plus answer equals 88? That's how they think through it in number stories. That's what it's gonna be like when we do our number stories in year 3.
It's a great question.
Sorry, what did you say, Mary?
She was saying, yeah, pretty much just like that.
When they jump from their part to their hole, should we write 45 plus box equals 88?
I think that's what the kids are doing in their head, right? I think we would need to make a connection with them to say, okay, the way they thought about this was they know that if I'm trying to find a missing part, I can also
Right.
rewrite my number sentence to part plus my other part equals my whole.
I don't know if we would write that here though, because in the packet that I'm doing for this,
At the top, it's
It's all represented
it's
through
all,
subtraction.
it's all like whole minus part.
What do you think?
Can you repeat the question?
I'm saying for the one where it's represented starting at the part, jump up the other part to find the whole. Or sorry, start at the part, jump up to the whole, count the part. Representing it as whole minus part equals part, or part plus question mark equals whole. Because you're saying, yeah, the way that it's represented in the problem set today is only whole minus part equals part, and so we're trying to figure out, the extent to which we should show them, like, oh, you used an addition sentence.
So it seems like the game is not it seems like the game, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, it doesn't seem like that's in it today. Am I missing something?
Well, it's just like the representation of the strategy, right? Like if a scholar, I think we're trying to figure out to what extent should the number sentence match specifically what they did. Because some kids, right, like if they did, they might say, I'm gonna start at 45, I'm gonna make jumps until I get to 88, and then count what's there, which representing that on the number line would be 45 plus equals 88.
So I think because it's subtraction, you would want to stay to like starting
Just
with
the
the
whole minus
whole minus the
Okay.
part.
So
Yeah.
should we not even touch on that one?
No, we should. I think we just need to say like the way they solved it was by counting on, but the equal still equals the whole. Let's zoom ahead to what was your question?
So my question is, if we're only doing the jumps first and before we're counting down, then how would the second strategy work? Because then they wouldn't know when to stop.
Great question. When there's you mean when they're starting at 88 and they're subtracting until they get to 43?
You mean there's
Until you
subtraction
get
till
to 45.
Oh, so until they get
Because
to 45.
then it's like, because if you jump and like do the counts with it, then it makes sense. But I feel like,
I think that's what you have to do. I think on the second strategy you have to do the counts with it. Does that make sense?
so would we want to norm and do the counts with it for all three?
I think.
Do you mean instead of labeling these as minus 10, doing 10, 20, 30?
No, I think she's
No.
saying, I think she would be like 88 minus 10, 78, minus 10, 68, minus 10, 50. I don't actually think it matters. I think they can do either one.
Yeah, if we're trying to teach them to be more flexible in their thinking,
Yeah.
they should be flexible enough to like.
I think the counting as you go is only applicable for that second strategy.
Okay. So then for this one, starting at 88, I can do minus 10, and then once I'm done doing the jumps, I can count them as 10, 20, 30, 40.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's actually, Karen, why don't you jump up?
Okay.
And why don't we just go straight to the part where we're saying, let's try this one together for the second strategy, okay? So a scholar just shared out, I am starting at 88 and I'm going to go until I get to 45, and then I'm gonna count my jumps.
Okay, so you said starting at 88, jump until we get to 45, right?
Yep,
Okay.
so you can write 88 on there if you want.
So you said we're starting at 88 and we're gonna jump till we get to 45. Why are we jumping till we get to 45, Justin?
We're jumping to 45 because that's one of the parts that we already know. We
Nice,
find
so
the missing part.
So what are we trying to find?
We're trying to
You
find.
answered that when I was trying
That's
to.
fine, that's good, I like that. No, I like that. Yeah, I was gonna say, we're trying to find the missing part, and we're trying to find how far from 88 to 45.
Awesome, so you say we're starting at 88 and we're gonna end at 45.
Good, I like the strategy that she's using right now, just like marking it on right away, it helps kids.
Turn and talk to your partner. How could we start at 88 and get to 45?
Great. Start with the jumps and tens, jumps and one.
What would you do, Meg?
I would draw jumps on the number line until I can get to 45.
Great, how many jumps, what kinds of jumps would you make?
Just start.
Katrina?
I would make jumps of 10 until those are too big, and then I would jump like 1.
Why would you start with making jumps of 10?
Because it's faster.
It's faster. How many jumps of 10 would you make? Awesome, you don't know. We're trying to find our missing part. Let's see. I'm gonna start making jumps of 10 till I can get close.
Yep, I think that works,
Yeah.
keep going, yep. So I'm gonna make a jump of, so I'm gonna make a jump of 10, so what number am I at now?
I'm gonna make a jump of 10. What number am I at now? Everybody.
78.
And I would label
78.
the jump as minus 10, and then draw a little arrow so they can see that they're doing it a few times, so there you go.
Awesome. Should I keep making more jumps of 10? I agree. I'm gonna keep making more jumps of 10. I made another jump of 10. Where am I at now? Everybody.
68.
I'm gonna keep going.
And that's, I think one thing you can do right there is just keep asking, can I keep going?
Okay.
Can I keep going? Can I make another jump of 10? Because that's helping them just keep checking their reasonableness to be like, can I take away another 10?
Okay.
So at 68, you say, can I make another, can I take away another 10? Yeah.
Okay. So can I take away another 10?
Yes.
Yes, awesome, thanks. take away another 10?
No.
Why should I not take away another 10, Norina?
Because if you take away another 10, you'll be at 38, and that's based on 45.
Right, I need to make sure I stop where?
45.
At 45. What should I do now? Turn and talk to your partner. What should I do now, Justin?
You need to start making jumps of 1.
Awesome, I'm gonna make some jumps of 1. Where would I be at now?
47.
Where would I be at now?
46.
Let's see. I made another jump of 1 to get to 45. How can I figure out my missing part now that I've made all of my jumps?
I would just stamp that part right there that's really important that you like I would just say like now at 46 I would say I take away 1, what am I at? 45. What do I do now? You gotta
Okay.
stop, because they need to understand that that's the number they're trying to get to.
I'm at 46 and I took away another 1. What do I do now? I'm at 45.
Stop.
Why should I stop? Katrina.
Because that's the part that you were trying to get to, you don't wanna go any farther.
Great, how can I find my missing part?
Great, that was your turn to talk there.
Can't you jump?
Yeah.
Sorry, how can you find your missing part? Here, Dr. Martin.
I don't know your jumps out here.
So this is the part where I'm a little iffy on.
Yep.
Obviously this is our missing part. How should we indicate that on our VA so that it makes sense for them to like for us,
Sure.
it's easy for us to be like 10, 20, 30, 40, and then whatever.
Yep.
But is there a way to label it to make it easier for them to visualize
question.
how we're adding that up?
Do you think would kids be able to keep it in their head or no?
I don't think all of them.
I think what we can maybe do is be like, okay, we know this is our home, this is the part we know, this is what we don't know, let's count it, 10, 20, 30, 40, and make it 4, 41, 42,
that works.
43, and make it 3.
I think that works. I think that's a good strategy.
When
So-
I was my kids, when we did addition, jumping by 10s and 1s, I was like, this is like a stick, when we're counting our sticks, we're counting by 10s.
Okay.
So that also.
So we don't think we need any crazy annotation strategy. It might just be let's count our tens first.
I was just trying to figure out how to
I think that's good.
visualize
So let's do
So,
that.
like-
Let's yeah.
This is the, sorry, I'm trying to figure out, how did you just word that?
So
So I
If
said,
a jump of 10 is just like a stick of 10. How can I count my missing?
I think I would just say let's start by counting our jumps of 10.
Okay.
If we're counting our jumps of 10, what should we count by?
Or say like, so
10.
these jumps represent our missing part. We need to count these jumps to find like the value of our missing part, right? Is that like you're trying to,
Yeah.
so like, let's count our jumps.
Let's find out our missing part all together. Let's start with counting our jumps of 10. When we count our jumps of 10, we count by 10s. Get ready. 10, 20, 30, 40. Let's stop there. How many 10s do we have? 4 10s. How much is 4 10s worth?
40.
40. I'm gonna write down 40. We know we have 40 because we have 4 10s. Let's keep counting on or count how many ones.
Now let's count our ones.
Now let's count our ones. 1, 2, 3. How many ones do we have?
3.
3 ones. I'm gonna do my 40 plus 3 to show how many I have all together. What is 40 plus 3?
43.
43. What was my missing part?
43.
43. I'm gonna circle my missing part.
And then I would write my number sentence as well, because I think for each one I would be like, same answer, different
Okay.
strategy, same answer.
Is it?
So, but our number sentence would then be 88 minus
We should represent it the same.
43, something like that.
Well, we should just represent it the same all the entire way. So we're not trying to get them to write
Okay,
different
okay.
number sentences. We should just say, so in order for them to solve, they did 88 minus 45 equals 43. They solved it a different way, but they got the same missing part.
Is it stronger to like have them count on than to add the 40 and the 3? Because I thought one of the misconceptions in the packet is where they say kids are not counting on from their 10s with their 1s.
That's a good point. So instead of doing 40 plus 3, you could say, I'm at 40, now I'm counting 3 more, 41, 42, 43.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
both
we-
work, and I think this makes sense to them based on what we did yesterday, but I just know that one of the misconceptions that they mention all the time is kids not counting on from their 10s.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
the
it's
one,
really
well,
weird.
that one was, that one's not listed in this,
I don't know.
in this one.
No,
But
I-
that one was more of like, you have 40,
Yeah.
and now you have 3.
I'm just
like-
wondering which one is like the stronger move to make, to be like 40 plus 3, or to have them count on 41 for 2 for 3.
So the more sophisticated strategy is definitely counting on, because that's like what we want them to, I mean, yeah,
So I could, instead of saying, how many ones do I have, I could say, we're at 40.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna count,
Count
now I'm
back.
gonna count on
By
with
ones.
my ones. What's 1 more than 40?
Or let me keep counting by ones now.
Okay.
Yep.
I wonder too if you could even, well, my question was gonna be like, after you have it all charted up there, could you just say, how would I know how many jumps I've made between 88 and 45? Turn and tell your partner how many jumps I made,
Make that
because then they
calculated.
might be able
That's a
to
good idea.
name that as well. I also am wondering if the way you see they got the same answer is not by writing an equation. I just like wonder if they're gonna be able to make
Because
the
there's an
connection,
equation
because
at
like
the
that
top.
equation, when I look at the second number line,
Like
that looks like
equation.
88 minus 43 equals 45.
Right. Right.
And I wonder if that's confusing. So I wonder if the way that you stamp that they got the same answer is just like you circle 43. Wow, I did it this way and I got 43. The second one, wow, I did it this way and I got 43 because I made 43 jumps. You know what I
Leaving
mean?
out
So
the
now
part
writing
when we
that
write the numbers.
equation.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think the only thing that's confusing is in their problem set, they're having to write, they have to write their representation in that way because that's what's in the format already.
But the problem is that they just roll the number.
But they always, no matter what, they're always gonna end up, no matter what strategy, they're always gonna end up doing whole
Yeah, but
minus
they
part.
roll the number to fill this in here.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. Yeah, I maybe we're not talking about the same thing, but either way.
This is the problem set that has the first number already, the
Already
whole
there.
already there,
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel what you're saying, like, it's like a step that we're doing to make it, to, you know, but it might not be like a necessary step, it might just be a confusing step.
I think circling 43 is, yeah, I think the big point here is that in order to find the missing part, we're using multiple strategies to get the same missing part, so I think that's totally fine. Okay guys, we are at time. This was fun. I had fun. Did you guys have fun? Good luck.
No, like, this is like.
Good luck on that third strategy, kids.
See, now next Wednesday, you don't get to have this much fun.
I know, that's
You
right.
have
That's
more
all
time.
fun. So, okay, all right, thanks guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Also, obviously, we don't